Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be going over everything that happened today in our markets and with AMC specifically. We're also going to take a focus on what's going to be happening tomorrow. The first event that we're going to have on this scale, well, for maybe a while here. We'll have to wait and see. But the last time this happened was 17 years ago. That's a long freaking time. I would say a lot of you guys were not, some of you guys were not even alive then. Maybe some of you guys are under 18 watching this video, but not the majority of you guys. Nonetheless, it hasn't happened in a very long time. That is the Bank of Japan actually raising rates. Now, it's interesting because equities are not reacting to this at all, but bond markets are reacting to this and maybe pricing in a little bit of what could be to come. So I want to share that with you guys here in this video. Hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So right about now, you are going to be getting the Nvidia GTC conference and Jensen Huang that will be speaking. Now, Nvidia stock was a lot higher today, kind of sold off, trying to level out here. I think, again, the bottom line with that event is Nvidia has seen a lot of hype. There's likely been a lot of pull forward of demand, and the stock has really high expectations. Can Nvidia surprise investors? Can they give you good news that, you know, shocks investors? Of course that's possible. Is that priced in already to the stock? Probably. Okay, and that's where you got to look at probabilities here, and the probability that Nvidia rallies big after this event is probably a lot smaller than if it drops after this event. And that could set the broader markets up for maybe the start of a decline heading into Powell. My base case is still Powell needs to put the optionality of a potential rate hike back on the table, and that becomes problematic for big tech and for our markets, the areas of the markets that have not priced in a more aggressive Fed. I would say small cap stocks, I would say mid cap stocks, some of them like an AMC have likely priced in a higher for longer or maybe higher Fed, right, as far as the federal funds rate. So that's an event coming on Wednesday. Tomorrow, you're going to have a major event that has not happened in 17 years. That event in question here is the Japanese Fed raising rates for the first time since 2007. Now, a lot of people believe China owns the U.S. Well, no, if you're thinking about who owns U.S. debt, who really owns, quote unquote, the U.S., it's Japan. Japan owns the largest amount of treasuries, over $1 trillion. And there's a lot of Japanese investors that put their money in the U.S. markets because the Japanese markets for a long time seen basically no action at all. There was no inflation. I mean, this recent bout of inflation in Japan is pretty welcomed overall. And that's why they've been so slow to actually start raising rates, because Japan just hasn't seen inflation in so long. With that said, there's $4 trillion of offshore funds in U.S. markets mainly that could start to get pulled back into homeland Japan. And that could be a little bit problematic, especially for our bond market. If you start to see some selling of bonds, that could be a problem. Now, what's interesting today is the NASDAQ's up over 1%, S&P's up close to 1%. Things are doing okay, mainly big tech. Small cap stocks are not doing as well. But if you look at TLT is down 0.5% today. Bond yields are kind of soaring for a day like today where you didn't get any economic data, you didn't get any real new information. 10-year treasury yields are up about 4 basis points. I mean, that's quite a move for no news, right? And you could say no news. We didn't have any news specifically that came out, but coming tomorrow in after hours around 11 p.m., you are going to get the Bank of Japan raising rates. Now, I think it's a little unknown what's going to happen with this $4 trillion of offshore money. Maybe it goes to Japan. Maybe some of it does. Maybe none of it does. And I think that's a big wild card for tomorrow. And the markets are going to price this in ahead of time. So the markets coming tomorrow are likely to move in response or kind of pre this event from Japan. So that could put a little bit more upside pressure on yields heading into tomorrow. That could put downside pressure on stocks. Normally, I guess what we've seen over the past couple of years is yields higher, stocks lower. That hasn't mattered as of lately. But if you do get an outsized reaction coming tomorrow or coming on Wednesday when, the markets are actually trading off of this Japanese rate hike, then maybe you do start to see some upside pressure on yields and maybe some downside pressure on stocks. Like, this could be a black swan event, or this could be nothing at all. And I think that's the difficult part about even talking about this, because I honestly have no idea. I've never seen the Bank of Japan raising rates in my lifetime. If anything, they've lowered rates and kept rates negative for a very long time. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. According to Bloomberg, a poll they did with 273 institutional respondents, only about 40% of them think that this will cause any reaction to that $4 trillion of offshore money. So I guess it's kind of like a coin toss, right? But 60% or so of these investors that were polled believe that this will have no impact, that money will just stay where it is. 40% of them believe that some money will start to leave U.S. markets and start to go back home to Japan. That's not really a comfortable statistic that, I could sit here and say with confidence it's going to be a non-event. It may be a very large event. And if it is going to be a large event, likely that starts to happen coming tomorrow. I think you're starting to see that today in TLT, in the treasuries. Like I said, down 0.5% for no reason. There's no news. And maybe tomorrow is an even larger day for TLT. And that also is a problem for your regional banks. If TLT continues to fall, every day TLT falls, the bond prices themselves are going down, and that puts more unrealized losses on the banking system as well. Now that the bank has ended the bank term funding program, that could be a little bit more problematic than maybe other times you have seen in the past. And I know there's a lot of speculation on the bank term funding program. Some people think it's going to crash the markets or whatnot. Not necessarily just by itself, but if you give, banks and really the unrealized loss or the bond market a reason to sell off, that could become a problem for the banks inevitably. So I think it's a little problematic heading into tomorrow. Again, can't draw any conclusions, but it is a major event you want to be watching for. Japan is a highly developed country, highly developed markets, and I think it's a little bit different now that, Japan's going to be raising rates, because the Japanese markets are still pretty much at all-time highs. And this is like 40 plus years in the making. So, could some money start to go back into Japan? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Here on the day today, AMC stock is down about 1 cent. You're currently at $4.42 per share. Your 50-day moving average is $4.43 per share. So you are about, now you're 1 cent under that 50-day moving average. Not fantastic. You want to close above that 50-day moving average. Anything can happen here in the last hour or so of trading. Again, that Nvidia conference is going to be starting here in not too long. So I don't think the day is over with right now. But again, you want to get above that 50-day moving average. You want to close above that. If you do, fantastic. If you don't, a little bit problematic, because I do think we likely get some downside to our markets this week. And if we theoretically could get above that 50-day moving average before Powell, maybe that 50-day moving average serves as a little bit of support. But it hasn't happened yet. We're just right there every single day, finding a lot of resistance, which, inevitably, hopefully we break out above that, but maybe not. Now, the NASDAQ today is also in a very interesting spot, because right now, at the time of recording this video, you are sitting right on this bullish support line in this channel. I mean, like right on this line. If you were to fall into the end of the day, then that's problematic for the next couple of days. And we really fell under this on Friday. You seen that bounce today. Well, now I think this is really the time you want to be watching. You're also butting up against this prior level of resistance, which was just back here, and this was again an all-time high, but you did find a lot of resistance around this level. This was around 438 on the triple Q, 438. And it looks like you're finding a little bit of resistance there today. After you did see the fall, you kind of bounced back up, found some resistance. Now you're falling back lower. So we'll have to see how the NASDAQ performs around this area. But I do think the next hour or so are going to be important for that. And again, I do have to start making this video before the actual end of the day just to get it out at 4 p.m. But again, the Nvidia conference will be in after hours as well, and that will be very important and something you definitely want to be paying attention to. I don't know if you guys are going to listen to it. I will probably listen to it, but you'll definitely be getting the headlines from it. That's for sure. Now, AMC stock over on StockTwits today. Take this information with a grain of salt. It's really just looking at retail investors, but I think in the case of AMC, I think retail investors are probably the most important, right? Because they're the ones that are going to jump on this trade first, and then hedge funds and institutions, they're going to do their thing. They're going to short. They're going to follow through with some long positions when that time comes, when AMC does actually start to rally a little bit. Now, nonetheless, sentiment today is neutral at 49. Yesterday, it was at 54, which was also neutral, but sentiment a little bit more bearish today. Message volume is improving. That's good. Yesterday was at 40. Today is at 44, so that's positive. Participation ratio was at 55, which is pretty much the same as where we have been recently. So also, I guess, good news there. You could always be seeing that number falling, and it could be bad news. So seeing numbers just holding up, pretty dang good. Now, as I said in the last video as well, short interest continues to rise. Now at 13.05%. This is the high that we have seen during this cycle, or pretty close. The high was 13.16%, but you're pretty much there again. And if short interest continues to rise, well, that's going to be good news for the prospects of a short squeeze with AMC. I think it's well established by a lot of you guys, and myself included. The short interest is likely a lot higher than what this number says it is. Whether you think it's 25%, 50%, 100, 200, couple 100%, doesn't matter. This is the number that people are going to look at. This is the provable short interest number. So that's the one that I like to highlight. We can all speculate, but I don't think that does us too much good at this point. We do have $151 million currently in short positions in AMC, with days to cover sitting at about 2.22. 34.22 million shares that are currently sold short. 45.35 million shares that are currently out on loan, 1.08% cost to borrow fees, 61.24% utilization, and a short score of 67.45 out of 100. Cost to borrow max sitting at about 3% as well. So not super high, but pretty normal relative to, other securities. Now, we did see one order from hedge funds and institutions in the options market that was flagged as unusual. Not all option orders from hedge funds and institutions are going to get flagged here, but the ones that are large or quick, or people just want to get into positions quickly, will get flagged. And it's the same order as previously. It is a $5 call expiring by June 21st. It's worth $11,000. So that is a bullish trade on AMC from some fund, hedge fund, or institution out there that is now bullish on AMC. So that is great. If we take a look at the Stonko tracker data, it may take until after hours today or tomorrow to actually update this and see if we had some rolling over of contracts on Friday. I believe by tomorrow morning we should have the actual numbers here. You do have calls in the money at about 2,500, calls out the money at about 34,000. Puts in the money about 7,500 and puts out the money about 16,000. So not crazy high, not super low, kind of so here on the day today. Now again, TLT is down almost a 0.5%. Again, could be pricing in some of the weakness that we might see in the bond market, thus meaning yields may rise over the next couple of days, and that could put some pressure on equity markets as well. The dollar is up 0.16%, which that's also what you could expect to see if Japan starts to raise rates. It should strengthen the Japanese yen, which could weaken the dollar a little bit. So we'll have to see what kind of happens there, or it could strengthen the dollar. And that's kind of what it's saying today, is the dollar might get stronger, which is actually the opposite, right? For economic activity, for multinational companies like a Microsoft or an Apple or a Tesla or any company that sells products or services in foreign currencies, if the dollar's weak, they take in strong foreign currencies, convert that to a weak dollar, it gives them more dollars. If you take in weak foreign currencies, convert that to a strong dollar, then you get less dollars. So that's where you'll see on like earnings calls, they'll say FX headwind. FX just means foreign exchange, right? And whether that is a headwind or tailwind, that can be important for markets as well. Gold is pretty much flat on the day, so not too much action there. I expect gold will probably move quite a bit when the Fed does make an action. And I mean, what we've seen recently is maybe this spike has been in anticipation of maybe the Fed actually raising rates again, or being higher for longer, or not giving us as many rate cuts as markets were previously expecting. So definitely something to think about there. Maybe gold could be a leading indicator after all. So there is that. As far as AMC specifically, you're really not doing a whole lot of anything today. You're up or down about 1 cent for most of the day today. You're still down about 1 cent. You are sitting right at your 50-day moving average. If we close here, then I would say you're pretty neutral. If you can close above this 50-day moving average, which is at $4.43 per share, then things are good. And really, again, like I said in the last video, you just want to close green on AMC, and that would be good news. If you close green today, you close above that 50-day moving average, that's fantastic. If you close red today, you close under that moving average, and well, that's bad news. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. We really don't have anything to go over on the economic calendar of importance coming tomorrow. You do have housing starts, building permits, 52-week bond auction, 20-year bond auction, net long-term TIC flows, but really nothing that's that important. But you will get the Bank of Japan raising rates. Actually, tonight, I'm sorry, I'm misspoken in this video. I was under the assumption that was tomorrow night. That is tonight. Holy moly. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be potentially even a bigger event for the trading day than I previously thought. So wow, that could get exciting. Let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.